Well, hello, it's Alan Clark here, but you probably know that anyway. It's on the slide over there again. Welcome to the temp or contract world from the client's perspective, and obviously with a BD focus. So I want to start off just by asking you one question. What are non-permanent workers called in your particular marketplace? Because they do have different names and titles. Yes, we can call them contractors, temps, freelancers, locums, interims, consultants, even seasonal workers, and of course casual labourers. So why am I telling you this? Well, using the right language when it comes to approaching your clients on BD can be the difference between having a decent conversation or not. And I know that when running training sessions, when I'm in-house, if I say temps to a company that uses contractors or freelancers, they look at me as if, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or he doesn't know our business, he hasn't done his research, or he sounds like someone from a high street. So it's as if recruiters fall into different camps in terms of the markets they work in, the language that they use, and of course how they work. Now, it's not going to be the same camps, but clients fall into different camps as well. So what I want to be able to do is, first of all, just use the word contractors as an all-encompassing title for the freelancers and the temps and the locums and interims and everything else. It's just going to be easier to use that as a generic phrase for the rest of the video. So clients, as far as I'm concerned, fall into these four camps. The first camp is a client that knows the value of contractors and they use them. Secondly, one that knows the value of contractors but they don't use them. Then of course you have the ones that don't know the value of contractors but use them. And then the final one, ones that don't know the value of contractors and they don't use them. So I suppose my question to you is, which camp do you try and sell contractors to? Methinks all of them. Yes, so I wouldn't have put them up there if you couldn't have an opportunity to do BD with them. So let's take each one. The first one that knows the value of contractors and they use them. Well, this is an absolute no-brainer. They understand the value, so why on earth wouldn't you want to approach them doing BD? Why on earth wouldn't you want to sell them more contractors or even increase the number of runners that you have with them? Growing an account is still business development. The second one is one that knows the value of contractors, but they don't use them. Now, of course, these people know the value of contractors, but maybe their business is structured in such a way that they don't have contractors, or they've never needed to use contractors, or they don't need them, or they haven't needed them at the point of your initial approach. That's why it's worth perseverance, just in case. Look, circumstances change very quickly in business. After all, they may have had to have pivoted or adapted their business as a result of COVID, and they need to hire in some expertise that they don't currently have available in-house. And then we have the third camp, ones that don't know the value of contractors, but they use them. Now, this might seem like quite a strange camp, but it's just that they just treat these people like a commodity. You know, they eat them up, they chew them up, and they spit them out. It's almost as if they treat them just like a product, like a commodity, a job filler, and not necessarily as workers who have needs and wants and feelings too. These companies can still be business developed. And I think perhaps we need to raise the question, maybe at a service review, and ask them, you know, what is it that you are able to achieve with your contractor workforce? Almost get them to see the benefit of what they are able to do. So it's still an opportunity to BD, but the likelihood is if they don't value your contractors, the chances are they don't value recruiters. They see both parties as just necessary evils. And then, of course, you've got the fourth camp, ones that don't know the value of contractors and don't use them. So there's got to be definite business development opportunities here. And for you to be able to convince them, or maybe even have an opportunity to sell them the benefits of having a contractor workforce. They may have absolutely solid business reasons why they don't use contractors, but that's fine. That's not, okay, that's one door closed, but that doesn't mean to say that you can't open up another door for your permanent solutions. So don't forget about cross-selling if you're not running a dual desk. I think something else that we need to understand is understanding the reasons why it is that clients do hire contractors in the first place. Now, the list I'm going to give you, I'll make it appear on screen and I'll disappear. These points will not only help you to formulate your questions, but they're also going to help you to know what to listen out for and hopefully sell more effectively. So let me just shrink down. So they might only have a short term or a defined term need. In other words, they don't have any requirements or needs for these people after that time. They need immediate expertise or a skill set that they don't currently have in-house. The project needs a specific skill set in order to complete the project or to move it forward to the next stage. Maybe they've been let down through absence or sickness. Maybe they're getting behind schedule, or maybe their clients have brought the schedule forward. They're looking for a cheaper option, cheaper for contractors in the short term, of course. They want a flexible workforce that can be hired and fired very quickly. They want people who are going to be available at short notice. They need a stand-in for a permanent worker who's not there currently for whatever reason that hasn't already been mentioned. They want an opportunity to see someone in action before hiring. And of course, this is where we look at either temp to perm or contract to perm. Rather than diverting permanent staff away from their jobs or their projects in-house, a contractor might suit them better. They might want to bring in additional skill sets, expertise, competitor knowledge, market insight, or just another way of doing things. Sometimes a fresh eye on a problem can actually help them out. Permanent employees are often bound to one location, but contractors may be able to relocate for the duration of the contract. Temporary contractors can often adapt to new environments quickly because they've probably done it several times previously. Payroll is going to be dealt with through the agency, so less hassle there. They need to be able to react to changes quickly, so you can do that and so can your contract workforce. And of course, there's no large one-off initial fee. When I say large, of course, you're worth every single penny that you charge for your permanence. So, that wasn't too obvious. Do you fancy some more egg sucking? Let's take just some of those items that I've just mentioned and look at what you should be listening out for. Listening out for clients who might say things like, yeah, but Alan, I need someone quickly. I only need someone for 3 months. I don't have the relevant skill sets in-house currently, or look, the project is really getting behind. I really can't tell how long I'm going to need them for. I need them to be able to go out to all of our different sites or offices. One of our people is off on long-term sick and I don't have anybody to cover them. My perm team are already stretched. My client has just brought the delivery date or the launch date forward. Look, our business needs to react very, very quickly. Now, at this point, you might be thinking, come on, Alan, this is way too easy. Clients wouldn't just volunteer that information. Well, you could be right. But actually, they might volunteer that information if you ask them the right questions. So, let me give you a little bit of a flavour. How long would you need this person for? What would happen if you couldn't find that level of expertise in-house? What do you do to ensure project completion? How would or do you cover for unexpected absences? What sort of budget do you have for hiring someone? What happens when you only need people for a specific time period? What happens to your perm staff when the project pipeline dries up or the project finishes? How do you establish whether or not someone is a good fit for the role or for your team or for your company? What if your permanent staff are already stretched and you had other projects to deliver on? How easy is it for you to move permanent staff around your different offices and sites? How do you ensure you always have the best talent doing the job when the time requires it? Okay, back to me. So look, these are only examples. You may choose to ignore these questions. You may choose to adapt them, tailor them, or take them as they are. It's entirely up to you. They're yours now. Oh, and by the way, these questions, they're not just useful to try and generate information to look for BD opportunities, but they're also good when it comes to handling objections, particularly with the clients who say, we don't use contractors. So, bottom line. The bottom line is, and I have to be very careful here, the actual steps you go through on business development for contractors is pretty much the same steps that you go through when you're doing permanent business development. So you might think, oh, what's been the point of the last God knows how many minutes? Look, of course you still need to plan your call. You've got to know who it is you are going to be approaching. You've got to do your research. You've got to plan your questions. You've got to have some candidates ready at hand so that you can pitch them in. You've got to be prepared to deal with objections. You've got to know how to sell your services effectively. You've got to know your worth. You've got to understand their needs by asking the questions. And of course, you've got to remember to close people down to get some form of commitment. And of course, you've got to do the follow-up with either another call or a video meeting or do something in writing. So your BD approaches on your contractor market might be a simplified version. It might be sometimes a little bit more direct because you're working to tight time frames. But that's the wonderful thing about recruitment. You can take something that is a tried and tested process or practice or technique and then just adapt it to your specialism. So what am I going to leave you with by way of workouts? Because I think it's important that you do have some takeaways and you start to apply some of the methods that I've just mentioned here. So if you don't know already, get to understand what non-permanent workers are called within your marketplace, particularly if you're going to be new or breaking into this new market. Understand what camp your clients fall into, because this is going to help you with your initial approach. Come up with a list of phrases or sayings or responses that a client might say that could be classed as either buying signals or buying points that then of course you would need to react to. Come up with a list of killer questions that will help you to identify temp or contract opportunities on your BD calls. And the last one, please don't forget to cross-sell. If there aren't any contract opportunities, ask about their permanent business. And of course, vice versa. It works both ways. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavour as to what the temp or contract world looks like from the client's perspective. So this has been me talking about that very subject. Alan Clark signing off. Good luck out there.